Yeah.
I take it most of you are either had just graduated or about to graduate, so you're looking for getting into, starting your jobs and things like that, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, sort of like what you've got is essentially, how do I get back to my screen? Oh yeah, there I am. Oh, that's me. Okay. Why should you be listening to me? Well, because Laura told you so. No, on a more serious note, I've got a little bit of experience in the financial services sector. So I trained with a firm called Coopers & Lybrand, which are known as PricewaterhouseCoopers now. And then I went on to basically work at EY and Deloitte. And so I've been in consulting for a long time. But importantly, I spent about 10 years in asset management industry as well with BlackRock. So, I've had both. I've been a buyer of consulting services, as well as I serve as a consultant in delivering consulting services. So anyway, that's basically a quick background to me. Right. So what the way I've structured it is basically in four parts really. What we'll talk about some general career guidance that applies across everything. My 25, 30 years as a consultant, I will try to summarize for you to whatever industry you're going in, general advice. Then we will talk specifically about what I think is the most important ingredient to make your career a success, again, at a generic level. Then we will talk specifically about what makes a really good consultant. And then finally, it's really open forum for you guys to ask questions. Is that fine, Laura?
That's perfect. Thanks, Ali. That sounds great.
Good. And how much time have we got?
As much as you want. These can go on for an hour, like 20 minutes for Q&A, but as long as you really want to chat, really listen. Like I said last night, everyone joined for 7 hours. So if you want to go on for that long, feel free.
No, it's not going to be 7 hours, guys.
Okay.
So, in terms of, I'm sure you've had really sort of like a good opportunity now to be thinking about your experiences with the consulting company. And you're thinking about, right, so if there was a magic sort of like, if you can summarize for me, what makes a really good career? What would it be? And I've got 6 key lessons. And as I said to you, it's not about consulting, it's about, you may want to go into banking, you may want to go into pharmaceutical industry, whatever it is. And, my own children, one's gone into marketing, one has gone into technology, one is going into law, so very different to what I've done. And, this advice will apply to all of them. And the first thing is hard work. There is anybody who tells you that there's a quick way to get there is lying to you. Every person that you see at the top of their organization has got there through sheer hard work. And that's a simple choice. No different to your exam studies. You work, you get the result. Anybody who says to you, oh, I got a really good grade and I didn't even work, that's a lie. None of us is born with prior knowledge. It is completely premised on your work effort. So those mathematicians out there, it's a direct relationship, one-to-one. You work hard, you will then get the result. It's not guaranteed, but if you don't do the work, there's no way you're going to get it, okay? So no quick routes, hard work is the fundamental requirement. Every leader I have come across, the second part is the thirst They have to learn. They will read anything and everything. They will sit and talk to people. They will have a book and they will write down ideas. They're constantly learning. The moment you stop learning and reading books and newspapers, that is the day that you have intellectually died. You're no longer, as a human, your brain has stopped growing. Yeah. Now, you can go, like cows do, they go out into the field, they just chew the cud all the time. But there is no advancement, no intellectual advancement for them. So anybody who wants to progress in a career must continue learning. That's going to be whole part and parcel of hard work. Human interaction, very simply, treat people with respect. Treat people well. You know, you can not go around being a nasty person. If not because you believe in, you know, you may have a religious or moral code, even if it's for your own self-interest, I would call enlightened self-interest. Treat people well. Just see it gets you the right results. Smile. It doesn't cost anything, seriously. And we forget that kind of stuff, yeah? Smile, and you know, the other person will smile, or they'll think you're crazy, but you know, one or the other, either way you get the right result, okay? So really, it's about people. There's lots of bright people who work really hard, but they don't go forward in life because they do not treat people well, okay? Number 3, money. Many of you are really, really concerned about how much you're going to earn. This is going to be controversial, but I will tell you my philosophy. Look, be flexible. Be ready, you know, to try. Don't squander the opportunity because of money. Okay, that's not a function of you. There's someone externally and what the circumstances are. Okay, do not ever equate your worth with the money that you get. People get really concerned about that. I've seen graduates who are saying is, well, they're not paying me enough, so I'm not going to go for a job. That's stupid. You don't go to school and say, look, you know, until you pay me, I'm not going to learn. Okay. If someone pays you a lot of money, that's fantastic. But don't let that be a barrier. I would sort of like, and I say this to everybody, you know, there was a time when I was, you know, a partner at one of the largest firms in the world, and I used to get loads of money and so on. I don't get a fraction of that. But you know what? My happiness, my well-being is not connected with money. It is all about, look, I play the piano. I really enjoy the piano. If someone wants to come and give me money for it, whoa, that's just a bonus. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I would sort of like say, and I know it's a really, really overused term. When people say you must have passion for what you do, this is the test. If you're passionate about something, you're going to do it anyway. You see? On whatever terms. And that's really very important. Just go out there, do your thing. You know what? If I'm going to dance, I'm going to dance whether somebody else is dancing or not. It doesn't really matter. We have a question. Mr. Hussain, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. I'm great. I just want to brush up on the money aspect. I agree with you that okay, money might not be everything, but for some people it can demotivate them by maybe
Absolutely.
them knowing that they're not as valuable as they thought, and that would maybe stop them from doing their best.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you a little story in a minute.
Okay.
But first of all, Gandhi did not do what he did because he was being paid for it. And in fact, you will find some people may get very little. So a college professor may not, who is at 60 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, may not make as much as a 30-year-old investment banker. But the worth to society and your self-worth should not be connected with how much you earn. And the more you become fixated with money, all you will do is you will keep on shutting doors down. This thing that one, I think supermodel said, I don't get out of bed for less than whatever, £10,000 or something. Well, yeah, okay, that means you're just missing out on opportunities. The friend of mine, he loves to travel. He doesn't say, I need to be in a 5-star hotel and so on. He just goes out, he travels the world, he does. His experiences are packed because he's made money not his object. And you can go so much further. When you just sort of like saying, I haven't even started my career, and let me introduce this really big limiting factor. I'm not going to even consider this. Guess what? So there's a friend of mine, he does rental, he lets out property. And he sort of like says, oh, I must get the market rate. And his neighbor, this other investor, he says, you know what? I'll give her a 10% discount, but at least my property is out on rent. So I'm not going through periods without the same thing. You know what? You want to hold yourself back? 3 months, a child, when they're born, each day has a disproportionate amount of impact on their future life. The first 390 days will decide how that child will grow up. A person entering the career market, what I do tomorrow doesn't really matter in an iota. I have spent X number of years, people know me, they will disregard. Each one of you, you do not work for one day. That will has a disproportionate amount of impact on your career. And listen, I know at the moment everybody is doing lots of these virtual internships and things like that and behind computer screens. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I said, listen, go out, interact with people, with humans. That's experience. Sitting behind and saying I've done a course on project management. Oh, but I did it theoretically. So you've never applied it. You never interact with the humans. Who would I hire? Someone who's actually done things, or someone says, I've done all of these things behind a computer screen. Anyway, we've talked a lot about money. I'll give you one quick story. So I was a really, really intense kind of stuff, like, motivated young person. I think I was 2 years out of university. And I was working really hard. I would work 4 hours until 4 o'clock in the morning every other night. That's how consultants are. They work really hard. And anyway, there was this other guy who was the same level as me. And there was a bit of a leak. And I found out that person earned £500 more than me. I was really angry. And because I was doing all the hard work, and this guy's getting £500 more than me. So as I said, I'm second year student, yeah? I called a meeting with the staff partner at Coopers and Lybrand. I went and basically met him. He liked me. And I said, listen, Richard, I'm really angry. I do this, I do that, and look at this guy. And he liked me. He started laughing. I am really angry. And this guy, someone who I respect, very senior, he's a partner, and he's laughing, and I'm thinking, I didn't tell a joke. Okay. And he said, listen, Ali, I like you, but I'm not going to do anything. I said, what do you mean? This is this is outrageous and so on. He goes, listen, £500 is neither here nor there. I said, that's easy for you to say, Richard. You're a partner. I'm, here I am, sort of like, a poor student and so on. He goes, listen, think about it. Yeah, after taxes, it will mean that you'll be able to get one more packet of crisps per week. Seriously? You think I'm going to go and fight so you can have one more packet of crisps every week? No way. And he said, but listen, why I'm saying to you is you must learn the lesson. It doesn't matter. You keep on doing what you're doing, people will recognize your worth in due course. So set the bar really high. Do the hard work and it will come. Okay. Courage. I think that's a really, and it's a bit linked to the thing that I was talking about remuneration, is sometimes you got to take risks. Okay. The riskiest thing that you do is to try to do something that you've never done before. Quite often we start operating within our comfort zone. I'm going to give you another story. So my son was about 8 years old and he had just learned how to play chess. He comes back from school and he goes, Dad, let's play chess. I said, okay. So I'm thinking, I'll let the young boy win a few games because, I don't want him to, I want to build his character. Anyway, so he stopped playing chess. In 3 moves, he goes, shh, and he goes, check. Whoa, how the hell did that happen? Here's a little 8-year-old kid. He's playing me with my experiences. How could he have, checkmated me, within 3-4 moves? And I thought about that and I thought, how did he do that? And later on I realized, you see, I was over analyzing. I was thinking, what happens if this happens and this happens? This young man had the courage to basically say, let me try it. And he did it. And that's what we need to do in our lives. Sometimes we just got to go and take the bold step. Don't overthink things. If it feels right to you, go and try it. And at worst, what's going to happen? You young people, get it wrong. You can start again, So courage is very important. And finally, what I would sort of like say is downtime. It is very, very important. It's not something that I do myself, but being a well-rounded person actually requires you to have that downtime, having some time for your leisure pursuits and family, because that's the only, if I can say, regret that I have got, is perhaps I did not spend as much time with my family as I should have. Okay, so don't miss out. Many of you will go on to have, children at the age of whatever, 20s, late 20s, 30s, and so on. That is a golden period. Don't regret that. Okay, but downtime. So that, as a human, you need that to become an all-round person. Yeah. General career advice. Any questions before I go on to what's the secret ingredient of a successful career? How are we doing so far, Laura?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You fine with this?
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it's oh, we've already got a hand. There you go.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving listening to it. I might have to hop off in a second, Ali. I've got another call, but we've got our Sparks on the call and they've been moderating these chats for weeks now. So
no problem. Okay. We've got a hand. I don't know how to access that.
We have Razan. Razan, you can go ahead.
Hello, Ali.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
Very good, very good. I'm enjoying talking to you.
Thank you. I have listened to your broadcast and career growth path, yeah, and I liked it so much. I just want to say that, and I'm asking you because you said that the 20s is a golden, I don't know, golden age or golden era. But apparently, I'm 23 and I'm lost. I'm so lost. So I don't know what you mean by golden because I didn't take any path yet. I'm just thinking. I don't have a career path yet. I'm just trying everything, and of course, me, I don't think about accomplishing family or having children or anything this time. So I don't know. I feel like my age is my 20 will go away and I didn't do anything. I'm afraid of
No,
that.
completely understand. And I think you get two types of people in my experience. There, and I've seen this both. So I've got myself, who unfortunately, I was a really intense kind of sort of like young man. At the age of 17, I knew I was going to be in banking and this and that. And gosh, I must have been an insufferable kind of person. But anyway, who know everything. But there are other people who perhaps take a bit of longer to work out what they want to do out of life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But, look, if you want to go somewhere, it is always good to have a map. Okay. Now, if it bothers you and if you are interested in having a really career is something really important to you, okay, then of course you need to start mapping out. But if it's not important, that's absolutely fine because not everybody is going to be corporate-y. Some people don't like working in a faceless organization. They want to have other experiences. They want to travel. So I think my whole suggestion would be, if you don't know what you want to do yet, then what you want to do is pack as much experience as you can. So it's a bit like, Spanish tapas. So you have lots of different starters because you don't know what you're going to eat. You want to be picking and saying, let me try all of these. And think outside the box, because a lot of people are quite often driven by industries that I want to be in financial services, I want to be in this. Forget about that. Pick things like something that is to do with maybe caring. Go into a profession that's about caring and see, do you like dealing with people? Try something to do with marketing, which is about, say, communication. Try something which is outdoors, something to do with where you use your hands. I came across one of the best asset management people who does lots of structuring work, very technical work. He is a tax advisor. He's got an MBA from Kellogg's. And I was just talking to this guy. He's an African and really great guy. And I said to him, he had a little burn on his hand. And I saw it and I said, what happened there? Where did you get that kind of scar? He goes, he just laughed. And I said, well, no, seriously, I want to know what it's about. He said, oh, I spent about 6 months as a baker's assistant in Paris. He worked in a French bakery, as you do, okay? And I think that's the kind of thing that do something which is completely off. Go and work for a charity. You may really enjoy it. Go to a foreign country. My own daughter, basically, I sent her to live in Paris for 6 months, just to go out, completely different, a new culture, like many of you, she wears a hijab and so on. And, it's a different experience. Her language increased, but that experience is really, really important. So do something completely outside of your comfort zone and try a host of things. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, actually, it's helped. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Great. Do you have any other questions, or can I go on to the next section?
Yeah, go on to the secret recipe.
How many of you have watched Kung Fu Panda?
Oh, of course. Big
The
fan.
secret recipe. Unlike Kung Fu Panda, the secret recipe is nothing. No, here is something. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to guess what it is. Can we play that video? That's the link is over there. So this is the interaction bit. Tell me if you can hear the sound.
Yeah, we'll see.
We can't hear any sound. No sound.
Yeah, no, so but yeah, I think maybe because you're muted, Anushka, but no, I actually don't think that's the reason.
Can you play it, maybe, Hussein?
Yeah, sure, I'll try. Yeah.
Have you got a copy of it with Hussein, or you can put it in the chat box? Or I don't have access to chat box.
Wait, I'll try to find it really quick.
We can't hear.
Yeah, I don't have the link.
Okay, it's just not important anyway.
I've just sent it across. Do you have it now?
Okay, yeah, I got it. Let me try.
Okay.
And I think there's something that you should enable for the sound to be included. It's not going to be projecting with the sound unless there's something you should enable.
Let me see. Ali, if you want to keep going, and
That's fine.
maybe
Hey,
I
listen, you
can-
know what? Forget about it. It's okay. There was a little quiz at the end of the video, which was, but I'll do it without, okay? Which is, what do you think this is a picture of?
Two people walking.
Yeah.
How?
Where are they walking?
In a like
Seems
big
like,
yard.
seems like a
mansion.
front yard for this massive house or something.
Yeah. Okay, getting warmer. So it's a big house. Now, where is this big house?
In England.
In England. Okay. So big house in England. Now, where would you find lots of big houses in England?
Are we just guessing?
Around the country, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so many people who live in big houses can't look after them anymore because they were built for a long time ago, they can't maintain them. So who takes them over? So in
Maybe-
the UK, sorry, go ahead.
The government, maybe.
It's a charity. The charity is called National Trust. Okay. So it was a cryptic clue I had, which was the secret ingredient is what?
Giving back.
It's about trust. Trust, if there was one thing I was to say to you in your career, in your life, that is the most important thing, it is trust. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. Okay, and it's a shame I can't see, we don't have a chat box. But, you know, and you can just put up your hand or just basically shout out the answer, or, you know, what you think is, what does the word trust mean? to you. So can I just pick people on random and just ask them? So I've got Osama. Is Osama, are you here?
Yes, yes. I think it's hard to say, but for me, it's security, trust. It's belief. This is the word that I could think about it. Yeah, it means that uh, it's something comfortable, more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's based on that understanding that you can rely on it. Yes.
Yes, it's dependent if the person believe and trust in people, or he just assume that this guy, or how he could earn the trust of someone. So it depends on the situation and the person.
Okay. All right. Very good. What about Lena? Are you with us?
Dina, are you there?
Okay. Have you got Eva?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Lena. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Good. What's your view on trust?
I can't hear you well. Can you repeat that, please?
Of course, the word trust. What do you think of
Yeah,
that? What does it mean to you, trust?
trust. Is being able to, let's just say it's a strong bond between your feelings and between someone else. Maybe if we are like working together, trust, it means that if I gave you something, I am sure that you will do it.
Yeah, reliability.
Yeah, exactly.
Great, great. And we've got Eva.
Sorry, listen. Very interesting talk, by the way, Ali. Thank you so much.
You're very kind.
Trust for me is exactly that, being reliable and building that relationship with someone to ensure that what you promise you're going to do, you deliver. So yes, being reliable.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your sharing your views. I'm going to do a very quick run through what trust means to me. As I said to you, it's been a guiding principle for my career. It's particularly important for a consultant because your relationships have to be trust-based. Okay? And if you want to be a successful consultant, and particularly on your own, when I have a big firm, when I was a partner at Deloitte, I didn't need to worry about it because there was such a big brand behind me that people trusted the brand. They didn't need to trust me individually. When you are on your own or working in a smaller organization, trust becomes really important. And that's the differentiator, why people come to you rather than go to someone else. Now, trust has different elements. One is that it is about communication. In life, you bring about trust in yourself if you communicate. And if you want to build or increase trust with people, communicate once and again and again. I'm sure you're in your 20s, many of you remember when you were teenagers and your parents were saying, "Where are you?" And you wouldn't tell them, or they want to know something and you hide. Does that engender trust or not? No, trust goes really low. You don't tell people. The more transparent you are, the more you communicate, guess what happens? People don't second guess you anymore. They know exactly where you are in life, where you stand. If you say to me, Ali, this may look really odd. It may look I'm acting against you, but I'm telling you, guess what? There's no surprises anymore. That policy of not surprising people is very important, and you do not surprise people by communication. If you can say, but Ali, I told you, I sent you 3 emails, then it shuts me up. I can't say, oh, I didn't know. Because I find that Mahmood has basically disappeared for 3 days. I don't know where Mahmood is. He comes back to the office and says, Mahmood, man, where the hell were you? My trust in you has really gone down. Mahmood says, what are you talking about, Ali? I was in the meeting with you, everyone present, and I told you I was going to be away for 3 days. I've sent you 2 emails saying the same thing. My trust is immediately restored. The guy told me. I can't sort of like, I'll say, I'll be upset. I'll say, Mahmood, maybe you should have told me that I listened. Okay. But, it's not, but I can't, I can't carry the grudge forward. Communication is really important to building trust. Trust, as some of you have just pointed out, is really about integrity. Integrity means you act in the interests, not selfish interests. That reduces trust. You act in doing the right thing. And that sometimes when we are young or we are scared, we stop doing things. And sometimes we will be in front of people who are more powerful than us. And when I was coming up and being trained to become a partner, we were specifically given training on how to say things which were awkward or which were not going to come across well. The person who you're going to say it to is not going to like it. And you will see this in life. Sometimes somebody will abuse their position and you are the younger, you have to speak up. And you see this all the time in life, when, there's this thing called the Me Too movement where people are being taken advantage of, okay? And what you've got to do is find strength. And the inner strength comes from when you know you're doing the right thing. And that is your power base. Integrity. Now you can't tap into that power base if you're doing things wrong yourself. So if you keep a very high moral standard for yourself, all around you, people may be doing wrong things. And if you join in, you've just destroyed your power base. You can be a young person, but if you act always with integrity, you can tap into it and say, I am this. Okay, so that's a very important part of trust. And if you act with integrity, other people trust you. And I know many of you are from a Muslim background. You will know the importance of Sadiq and Amin. Do you see? That is a very important thing because your enemy will still trust you because you've acted with the right integrity. It's very important. The other aspect of trust I wanted to raise with you is around this idea that trust is not instant. Somebody who says it's going to come straight away. No. It grows through time, through repeated interaction. So sometimes if I'm taking on a client or something, or I'm about to pitch to someone new, I will say to them, look, why don't we start talking to each other? And through repeated interaction, they can see who I am, what I stand for. They will hopefully give me their trust. One key ingredient of trust is that consistency. If I show variability, because the term that I think, Lena, you mentioned was reliability. You can only have reliability if you act in a consistent fashion. If my actions are up and down, You can't, because you don't know, is Ali operating at this level or he's operating at this level? He's operating at this level. So that consistency is very important. And I saw this I spent 3 years in the Middle East as part of my professional working. And I saw that quite often people, when they become very powerful, they start behaving in very inconsistent ways, very arbitrary. The person who actually maintains that equilibrium is the one who people start trusting more. You see? The trust is very important, consistency is very important. Now, another thing I think, Lena, you mentioned was about the emotional side of trust. Actually, trust is both rational and emotional. The rational side you can actually control. I mentioned, say, for example, this gentleman, he came in late or something, or was away from the office. He was able to point towards a rational thing. But it is also emotional. And that is a variable, but it also means that you have an opportunity to sort of like override the evidence. Yes. So you've got to work through both. How do you emotionally manage it and how do you rationally manage it? Okay. Trust, by definition, is a two-way exercise. It is going to be different with different relationships. My trust level is, and you've got to look at it and say, who trusts the other party more? That's one thing. So there's a trust equation you need to think about. And each person, there's a different level. And if you think about it, it could be with your siblings, it could be with your cousins, your family, friends, or whatever. Ask you, if I had to rate a person between 1 to 10 amongst my family and friends, where would I rate them? So you could have two siblings, your own siblings. The trust may be higher with one than the other. And ask yourself why. And again, you will see some of it is going to be rational and some of it is going to be emotional. Okay? Being aware of these things allows you to manage that, because, as I said to you, the key ingredient of successful career, or life for that matter, is actually how much you can increase the level of trust in you. It's very important. Speed. So when my clients write to me, how quickly do I acknowledge and say, yes, I got it, I will get back to you? If they send me an email and I don't respond for 3 days, I may be working really hard at it on solving the problem, but I haven't acknowledged. They don't have some knowledge that this person is working really hard on my account. Yeah. Little things like, say, for example, your telephone, somebody just texts you. Even if you just say, yeah, got it. It says to the other person, I acknowledge your existence, I know. That increases trust. Simple things we can do in our daily lives, yeah? So it's a two-way relationship. And what I would sort of like also say to you, and it goes back to the point I was talking about courage, is trust has risk associated with it. For me to trust someone, I am taking a risk, a personal risk. So, and as I said to you, it's a two-way thing. So if I'm having dealings with Anushka, now the question is, I'm not going to trust her. Why should I take the risk? Let her take the risk. or I've got to sort of like say, I want this relationship to increase and for us to build trust. So sometimes, quite often, I have to take the risk first. And the risk is that she doesn't reciprocate. And the risk-averse person will go through life never trusting other people. And they will tell you, you see these people, old people, they say, don't trust anyone. And that's fine. It's the risk-averse lifestyle. Okay? But if you want to grow and you want to experience new things, you must take risks. That's where the courage comes from. And that means that sometimes you're going to get hurt. Sometimes people won't reciprocate. And that's fine. Because in my equation that I have in life, I say I'm going to trust 100% of the people. And guess what? 25% of them won't reciprocate. They will, in fact, take advantage, and I will end up hurt. Okay, so 100% I took risk, 25% betrayed me, and because of that I suffered 25% loss. But I'm still 50 up, yeah? The other option is never to take any risk, and you don't get the 100. So would you like to be 50 up or 0? Now, some people are so, and it happens with sometimes family, that you get betrayed and so on. It doesn't matter. I mean, my own thing is keep on trying. Anyway, that's the thing. And as I said to you, it's a emotional thing. And because it's emotional, it becomes actually very personal. And those of you who are more sensitive, emotionally sensitive people will find it sometimes a bit hard, because you have to give it, you know, when you trust someone, and if it comes back and it hurts you, you're going to sort of like feel it even more. So, you know, yes, it's risky, but you've got to do that. And I've talked about theoretically. Now, I know some of you are scientists, and for that next part, Anushka, here we've got an equation. How many of you scientists? Mathematicians? Some of you? None of you? Have you got one mathematician?
We definitely do have some mathematicians and scientists. I think they might just be slightly shy today.
Okay, well, now you've spoken up, Laura. I think you just volunteered yourself.
I, on that note, have to go.
Okay, all right, no problem.
No, I'm joking. I think Bader said in the chat that I don't know, he said her. I'm sure he meant here. I don't know. Do you want to give it a go and see if you know what that equation means?
This is your moment of courage. Yeah. Risk.
I will risk this math out. Do you want me to solve this equation?
I want you to just guess what those letters stand for.
I think the first letter is trust.
Yes.
So this is what we are talking about.
Yes.
So maybe the C is courage.
Mm-hmm.
R is for reliability.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I encourage.
Mm-hmm.
And the S is for maybe stability.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you got 2 of them right. So that's pretty good. And it's unfair because this equation is not taught in schools. Okay. So I know you've never seen this before. It depends on what books you read. You might have seen it. But anyway, I'm going to walk you through this. And it's important because I can tell you this, the last slide I was talking about the different aspects of trust, but actually sort of like, then you say, okay, that's really good. You've given me something really fluffy. How do I make it happen? Okay. The T stands for, as Vedra has basically highlighted, it stands for trustworthiness. How much of quotient of trust do you carry, or the other person carries? Okay. The C stands for credibility. Okay. Credibility is very important because it depends on what aspect you're asking the trust for. I use the example, I say, I love my father, I trust him dearly, but as much as I love him, he does not fly the jumbo jet. What does that mean? Lara, I'm going to pick on you. What does that mean? When I say I love him dearly, but he doesn't fly the jumbo.
To interpretation. You accept him for who he is and love him for who he is, but you know his limitations and you respect him for his limitations, but wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the C is credibility is to do with your skill set. Yeah. So my brother may be an excellent carpenter and work with drills and things all day, but I'm not going to let him be my dentist. Yeah. He's not trained in it. Okay. So C is to do with credibility, and that's to do with your professional experience and how people see you. Okay. Terribly important. So trust is directly in the professional setting associated with, is it the right person? Credibility. R, in absolutely the right way there, is to do with reliability. And reliability is to do with things like consistency of interaction. Okay. If you say to me, you're going to be there at 10 o'clock and you're not there, do I trust you? When a surgeon operates, he is looking down on the body, and all he does is he says number 15 and he puts his hand out, and his helper takes the right equipment and puts it in his hand so he can continue with the operation. He doesn't check which number it is, the instrument and so on. Are you with me? When you fly an airplane, there is a whole exercise is one of trust. You trust on the tower that there's nobody else. You trust that the engine has been checked, everything's been, there's enough fuel and so on. The whole thing is about trust and reliability. You cannot let the side down. You look at the bus service, when you sort of like say, this bus is coming at this time. If it doesn't turn up, are you going to rely on it? No, you're going to go and make some other alternative arrangements. Reliability in professional life is so important. Okay. And again, I know there's cultural differences when it comes to things like, for example, time. Very important. That's one clear way of demonstrating that you can be relied upon. Always be there. Every morning, even if you have to go early. That's one sure way. I used to sort of like have brilliant consultants work with me. And there was perhaps one who was not as gifted intellectually, but would always be there at 1:45, 15 minutes before. So when it came to giving something of responsibility, did I give it to the guy who was the most brilliant? Or did I give it to the guy who was always there 15 minutes before? You know the answer. The guy who I could rely on. So reliability is very, very important. It's quite often the differentiator. Okay. I is to do with integrity. not integrity, intimacy. As I said to you, there's a personal side to it. So trust, you cannot divorce the personal angle, and that's the intimacy. Now, if I'm likable as a human, trust goes up. I smile, I build rapport. You see? So this is, in a nutshell, very quickly, the elements of trust. You do all of these things, you build intimacy, you build rapport with people, you're reliable, and you have the skill set. Your trust is just going up, isn't it? What destroys trust? What's the denominator? S. Selfishness, selfish behavior. If you're self-centered, you do not care about others. You may be the most charming person, you may have excellent credibility, and you may be the most reliable person and always there and doing the things and consistent. But if the only person you're serving is yourself, and I've seen this in my life, I have seen people who are brilliant, reliable, and they're charming people. But I always knew that, you know, they will never look out for me. No trust. And you have to be selfless. And in fact, often people will overlook you may not be the most brightest person, you may not be reliable. Sometimes I'm not reliable. Anushka will tell you. Okay? I try to be always reliable with my clients, but sometimes I'm not reliable. But people are willing to overlook that because one sure way of boosting it, make sure you become focused on them. Don't be selfish. Okay? That's all I was going to say about the scientific base. We have a question, Laura, please.
No, that's really, yeah, it's really awesome that you brought that up because, and quite appropriate, because yesterday we had a chat from one of our consultants, and it was to do with sort of emotional quotient, your EQ, and the importance of your EQ in your career and your professional environment, and how often we place so much emphasis on your IQ and what you know, but not sort of how you show what you know. And I think it's so important that, I mean, you started this and I saw a scientific equation and I was like, oh my God, but it's so simple if you break it down to, I think a lot of what that means is your emotional quotient and how you are with your emotional maturity. And I think, yeah, just all of those things, trust, credibility, reliability. If you are emotionally mature and you have your priorities straight, you won't be just working for yourself and you won't just be doing things for, you know, like there's no I in team. And I think it's so important. I can't emphasize it enough, just how I think to an extent you can only do so much with your intellect and your intelligence. And the rest, you just really need to rely on your emotional.
Yeah, and you can see
abilities.
People who will progress in organizations and you say, how did he get there? And guess what? You know, that's because they were nice people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of these things that you mentioned here are, despite cultural differences, I think reliability spans across all cultures. It's a universal language. Trust is a universal language. All of these things. So yeah, really important, I think, and needs to be emphasized more.
Right, so we're doing good on the time front, are we? But I will take questions because actually they're more important.
Sorry, I rambled on. We have a question from
No, please. This is really good. I prefer the interaction than me, you know, droning on. Shall we go to Noreen first and then Hussein?
Sure, go for it, Noreen.
Yeah, hi. I just want to know, how can I know my level of selfishness? Because I know there is good side of selfish and bad side. it's good that I serve others and I care about others, but sometimes we tend to forget ourselves. And you know, it's just I want to know, am I on the right place?
Absolutely. I think you listen. People think quite often they're in abusive relationships, and they think they're being selfish, being not selfish by serving others. But that's a destructive relationship. So I'm not suggesting that that is the right thing. Are you with me? I think again, this is my own experience. I mean, sort of like, what I would say is it's about orientation. Okay. Is your orientation towards the self or the other? And a friend of mine who's a psychologist or whatever, he goes, look, in my life, there's only two kinds of people. They're the givers and the takers. And sometimes in the short term, the takers seem to be the ones who are in the advantage. Okay. Then there are the people who are the givers. And you just got to decide which side of the fence you sit on. Okay, I don't want to make it into a gender thing, but quite often you will find that generally women tend to be a bit more on the giving side. Okay, and you've just got to sort of like see where you sit. Now, that doesn't mean that you should go into abusive relationship whereby you're being exploited. Of course not. That's why I think what you've got to do is look at it across rather than individual relationship and say, across the whole, am I a person who's basically giving more and always more likely to compromise, more likely to sort of like see the other person's point of view? I think, you know, Laura, what you're mentioning about the EQ side of things. Or are you self-centered? If it's about my needs all the time and I don't really anybody else, even to the extent that I cause havoc and, you know, turmoil and destruction to other people's plans and things like that, then you know which side of the fence you sit on.
So can I balance myself and others at the same time, or should I decrease myself?
Of course, there should be a balance. I mean, you know, but again, there's ways of negotiating. If I'm hogging all the food and you come along and you grab, you know, from me, you know, you're selfish and so on. Another way of saying is, look, Ali, we've got so much food. Why don't we, you know, maybe divide it? Okay. Just having that conversation is one that I think sort of like quite often is important one to have, because you're appealing to my sense of balance. And most of us are born with an idea of some level of equality, equity within us, but we don't always see it. So some people because they're self-centered, they only see it from their point of view. So actually sitting down and saying is that, you know, you may not have realized this, but I'm just sharing this. But can I have some time? Just share it and then try to restore that equilibrium. I mean, there's no specific answer I can give you, but I mean, I think it's a matter of just following it. From what it sounds like, I don't think you're in risk of being selfish.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome,
It
Nori.
was a good answer, actually.
But you're very kind. Thank you. Muhammad Ahmed. Sorry, Hussein was first. My apologies.
Okay, so I want to ask you about the reliability part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, everyone wants to be as reliable as they can, but at the same time, we try to take on as much responsibility as we can, and sometimes that might exceed our limits. And by doing that, it can be counterproductive. And even though you're trying to take as much as you can, you come out unreliable.
Absolutely. So actually, you raise a really good point, which is to do with the question that Noreen had. People who actually are selfless, they will quite often actually try to promise too much because they don't want to disappoint the other person. And then, whilst they're trying to be selfless, they're actually becoming unreliable. Okay, so I think that, again, the term I really like that Lara mentioned, which is the maturity kind of thing. The maturity part comes in and says, look, it's just not physically possible for me to do this anymore. And you have that open, frank discussion, and you say, look, I want to be reliable. And that's why quite often my own colleagues, I will come up with lots of crazy ideas and say, let's do this, let's do this. And somebody will sit me down and say, look, Ali, I really know you're eager to do 15 things, but there's so many hours in the day I've got, and I can't do all of them. Now, what would you like me to pick? And I would much rather have that discussion rather than some saying, I promised to do 15 things, and guess what? I dropped 10 of them and completely become unreliable. Whereas someone says to me, look, you know what? I can do 5 of these things. Which of these 15 would you like me to pick? Sorry, out of these 15, which 5 would you like me to pick? So I think it's about those open, mature conversations. And sometimes I need to do that. I need to go back to a client and I'll say things which are uncomfortable. Again, that comes with age, that you can feel comfortable talking about those things.
Okay, so just to reiterate, what you mean is basically we need to manage our like how much responsibilities we give.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
take. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's reliability. Actually, before the consistency comes the communication. Don't surprise me if you're running late behind something. That's absolutely fine. It happens to all of us. Just put up your hand, let me know. No surprises. If there's one thing that I've got a nice equation there and so on, you're worrying about X% and this and that. There's one message I could just leave you with, is one mantra. If you want to be trusted, no surprises. Just communicate. You can override any of these things, because what happens is, if you've not communicated, that leads to suspicion. And suspicion is that big, because I now suspect that you're doing this because you want to promote yourself. You work in teams, yeah? You don't tell me what you're doing. Oh, Hussein, you just want to look good in front of Lara, in front of Jerry, yeah? I know what you're up to. I know what his game is. You made yourself, I'm suspicious of you. If you just basically say, look, by the way, guys, I'm not going to be available for the next 3 hours, not because I'm doing something behind your back. I'm actually going and visiting my friend and who's in hospital. Just tell me, man. The moment you've communicated, it goes away. When you stop communicating, suspicious, my mind is already, I'm thinking, Hassan, I see what you're doing, man. It's going crazy. It's basically multiplying exponentially. And I'm thinking, this guy's going to kill me. He's going to take all my money away, you know? No. You pull it back. Be so open, so transparent. Nobody can hide anything from you. In my office, we used to have a lot of rivalry sometimes, you know, in the big firms. One thing I made a policy, I would always keep my diary open. Anybody can come and see what I'm up to. My telephone is completely open to my wife. She can check up anytime you like. She doesn't want to check anymore. I say to start of an assignment, your client, send them every week, send them information, more information. Okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Suspicion is gone. After the 3rd week, he says, Baba, please don't send me so many reports. You're blocking my inbox. Okay? Anyway, Muhammad, my friend.
Yeah, first, I really want to thank you about this great presentation. I really enjoyed every second of it. So I will go back a little bit about the money stuff and that stuff. Is that okay?
About what, sorry?
The money thing that we was talking about.
Muhammad wants to talk about money, loves money.
Yeah, yeah, you will know that. So my question is, you talk about that sometime don't think about the salary if it is not, you think it's not enough. But otherwise, sometimes we got some job offer. It's really good, but that job isn't the perfect job that will help me to achieve my career goal or some stuff like that. So I just want to know what your standpoint of view from this whole situation. If they really being good salary, a really good one, but it won't help me to achieve my career goal.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, nobody's going to say no to extra money, okay? It means that we have financial freedom, we can save, and we can do good works with it, you know? So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Of course, you know, take more than you can. My point was not to hold yourself back from doing things, okay? So I have got some interns in my office at the moment, okay? And they're not being paid what they could be paid. So when I was at Deloitte, I know what they would pay the interns. Really high. My interns, they don't get paid that. I know that. And I want to like to think that I'm a good person. I have some equality as much as I can. I will go out of my way to give them an experience that they can never get from Deloitte. In my mind, I've now balanced my book. So if one of them comes to me and says, you took advantage of me, I say, absolutely not. I gave you the experience that you wouldn't get as a senior manager in Deloitte. And I know what I'm talking about. I used to be a partner at Deloitte, yeah? So do you see, you've got to understand and work out in your own mind, that's as an employer I'm doing it. As an employee, you need to work that out is, okay, if I get to work with an agency of UN working in Washington or in Nepal, would you much rather have that? Or would you much rather work at your uncle's workshop down the road who pays you far more? In my mind, it's completely different. The exposure, the experience you will get working for the UN in Nepal is going to be different to what you could earn from your own family's little shop down the road, even though there's more money. I'm giving you extreme examples to make the point. I think you need to just balance that out. I mean, I can't answer the question, but one thing I would say is that you're going to, you know, you listen to me now and you say, oh, I don't know, he's crazy. He's saying his work for free or whatever. I'm not saying that. Of course, get the money and so on. The point I'm making is the decision-making process is very simple. Whenever you have a choice to make, option 1, option 2, drop a line, plus points, minus points. Write it down. The moment it's written down, you can make a decision. Does that help, my friend?
You answered it perfectly, Ali. Really, thank you.
You're welcome.
I definitely think we need more than an hour with you, Ali, though. You should have contacted you earlier. You could have been a regular speaker at TCC. I think everyone on this call can agree with us for sure.
You're welcome. I didn't talk about the last bit. I'll just go to that and I'll explain it. You can do it in your own time. If you go to the last bit, if I may just. So this is I told you about what are the qualities you need to make a good consultant. And there are 3 stages in a consultant's life. They must have technical mastery in the first part of their career. The second part of their career is about people leadership. And the final part is about market leadership. And I've given you all of these things. And each consultant, if they keep on progressing through a firm of consulting, they have to do all of this. So my job as the principal now is to ensure that I do market leadership. But you can't get to that until you've done the others. Okay. I think our time is up, isn't it, Nushka? Or we overran?
maybe just, I mean, yeah, it's your time, Ali. We've got all the time in the world, so people can come and go if they want. So
No, no, no. Never outstay your welcome. Okay. But
sure,
I'm sure you can look at this in your own time. But thank you very much. You're very kind with your comments and generous with your time. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Ali. I'd love to forward you. I'm sad that you couldn't see the chat because we've had such positive feedback from everyone, but it was really, really just so nice to. I just want to invite you over for dinner and just have chats with you over the over the over the dinner table about
I
all of our
can't wait
life.
to get out of this lockdown period.
No, definitely. I think we can all agree with that. But thanks, Anushka, for helping with the communication and setting this up with Ali. And thank you, Ali, for your time. We really appreciate it. Anyone else want to say anything before Ali and Anushka run away from us?
Just
Anyone?
that this has been very inspirational. Thank you so much, Ali. This is one of the best talks I've listened to by far.
You say that to every guy, don't you, Sam?
I really don't. No,
He's
actually,
the charmer.
I really don't.
I know.
No, I especially like the part about trust because that resonated with me, like both personally and professionally. So I haven't concentrated like that in such a long time. So thank you.
Yeah, I can see you're the scientific guy. He likes equations. Well, thank you very much,
test you on
guys.
that on our meeting later, Hussein. I'll test you on that.
Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Anushka, so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Bye.
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 هلا والله برايد.